the challenger from Aaron's Creek, Virginia, weighing 229 pounds, Hangman Adam Page. And his opponent, accompanied by Don Callis from Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada, and Never, North Carolina, weighing 224 pounds. He is the reigning and defending All Elite Wrestling World Champion, Kenny Omega.
Hangman with the AEW World Championship.
There you go. Don't win it that way, dude.
He's got the champion reeling. Omega
walked right into two shots to the abdomen. Did Hangman Page. He's lost his momentum that he was building just a few moments ago. Now he's got to do something to get it back, and that's going to take a big move or two. It's going to take some big offense. Turning punches might not get it done.
Hangman Adam Page, high boot.
That'll help.
That boot to the side of the head was a good one.
Omega intercepted the shot. Oh, the right hands. And Hangman down to one knee.
And Kenny laying him in, buddy.
Impressive right hands by the champion.
Oh!
And defiant Hangman Adam Page.
It's kind of like a standing V trigger there, wasn't it?
Knee strikes to the side of Hangman's head.
He's going for it here.
Omega, oh, Hangman intercepts.
You're still in it,
the
Hangman.
V trigger. He caught it.
You're still in it.
Paintbrush shots from the challenger. Omega covers up.
Here he goes. Bang! Oh, my God, he caught him.
Omega back in control.
Going for it again. No.
Rolling elbow strike. No.
God, it's back and forth.
These men are exchanging some heavy-handed blows.
Look how spent both men are. Look at this. They're kind of leaning on each other. This is incredible.
Hangman. Oh, look at this. Kawada kicks from Kenny Omega.
Oh, look at that. My God, he got it in his face.
Did you hear that?
A defiant Hangman Adam Page.
From downtown. What a clothesline. What a lariat. Whatever the hell you want to call it. It was amazing. Boom. Omega just got inside out there. That was so much power.
And it gets the fans chanting AEW once again for the appreciation of the battle that we are seeing.
On the Young Bucks, Hangman Adam Page
Dipshit alert.
said if the Young Bucks interfere in this match, he will make it his life's mission to ruin them.
He said that last night on Rampage.
This cannot be the way this goes down. Please.
Matt's nodding at him. Get back! Shot! Lariat! He got him! One! He beat him!
They've got a new AEW champ.
The winner of this match, and new AEW World Champion, Hangman Adam Page.
I can't believe what I just saw!
The Young Bucks gave a pass, for lack of a better explanation.
The Young Bucks refused to be in Hangman's corner the first time he challenged for the AEW World Championship, but they were in his corner tonight.
What a moment for this young man from Virginia.
And he's going to go back to his home state as champion on Wednesday night.
Boy, it was a long route. A lot of guys that would have called in at work and said, I don't want to do it anymore. But this kid's got a great work ethic, great grit.
Oh, man.
And now he's a champion.
This is a great moment. This is a hell of a moment. I'm so glad I'm sitting here being able to call this one with you guys.
Big moment for this man. Just had a young son. And daddy's coming home, young man, as a champion.
come here to maim you.
That's what I've heard for 7 years. I heard you. I heard you.
You might as well go ahead and admit it. You might as well own up to the philosophy for some of you, and that is that life sucks, and then you die.
Doubt you've ever been in a real street fight. By the looks of that pretty face, I don't think you've ever taken a punch before in your life.
Now it's eye for an eye. Now it's you take one of mine and I take two of yours.
You're there, sitting at home. Acknowledge me.
It's Tuesday Wrestling Tuesday with Jonathan Hood. WWE, AEW, MLW, NWA, New Japan, the Indies, and more. It's the Tuesday Wrestling Tuesday show with Jonathan Hood.
What's up, everybody, and welcome into Tuesday Wrestling Tuesday. I'm Jonathan Hood. Don't forget to follow the show on Instagram and Twitter at WrestlingTWT, at WrestlingTWT, as we talk to you about AEW Full Gear emanating from Minneapolis, Minnesota, and the Twin Cities. We'll hear from my buddy Jason Powell from prowrestling.net. He's in Minneapolis, and so he was there for all the festivities all weekend long for AEW. So we hear from Jason Powell, my buddy, coming up in a little bit. And don't forget that this podcast is proudly brought to you by Manscaped.com. Manscaped.com. Make sure that you go to Manscaped.com for below-the-waist grooming. For guys, you know that you've got hair hanging in places that you didn't even know you had places. Whether that is your ears or your nose or other places, especially below the waist. Hey, that's why you go to manscaped.com. Use the promo code HOOD, my last name, HOD, and save 20%. The holidays are right around the corner. This is a great gift, I think, for someone, yourself, or for someone. So again, if you're going to use Manscaped, make sure you go to manscaped.com. The 4.0 trimmer is terrific for below the waist grooming. You need to be able to get that hair off your chest. You want to make sure that you are streamlined and looking good for the holidays. So check out manscaped.com. Again, the promo code is HOOD and save 20% off. Let's talk about AEW and the show that they had in Minneapolis with Full Gear. Let me tell you, it doesn't matter what the ratings are every Wednesday, every Friday. It doesn't matter what happens on Elevation or Dark. Doesn't matter whether or not there are fans in the stands or not, if it's an empty arena or if there's 20,000 screaming fans. You know what really matters? What really matters is when you have a great wrestling card that everyone will remember. Wrestling ultimately is about moments, isn't it? Think about your favorite wrestling moment and think about how you felt in that great wrestling moment. Ultimately, we get into this granular detail on ratings and cume and, you know, the average age of people that are watching. Listen, all that information is available to us because we're on Twitter. We're on wrestling Twitter, so I get that. But ultimately, it is about whether or not you have moments you can remember on Supercards. And there are plenty of moments to remember for Full Gear from Minneapolis. As you just heard in the open, Hangman Adam Page defeated Kenny Omega for the AEW World Championship. Now, some will say that this is like the longest storyline in modern wrestling history because it's lasted over 2-3 years. I would say it was so start and stop. I can't say that Page and Omega was this great long-form rivalry. There were hints of what was going on between Page and Omega, but it wasn't consistent. It wasn't 52 weeks of consistent storylines to remind you that, hey, these two don't like each other or these two are breaking up, all this stuff, right? So what I will say is that this match was the best match on Full Gear. Because of all the stuff that we knew, the video packages help a lot to try to make you remember why these two are wrestling one another. And so when I see Adam Page and Kenny Omega go at it for 25 minutes for the AEW World Championship, I'm like, wow, this is really solid. Now, there was some interference from Don Callis at times, and you saw the Young Bucks come down to ringside. Now, the reason why that this really stood out is because when the Young Bucks come down, you know there's going to be some kind of outside interference, some kind of shenanigans to kind of ruin matches. I'm all for one-on-one or a tag team without having the gaga the nonsense outside interference. In this scenario, the Young Bucks gave Adam Page the nod, saying, hey, I know we were against you. I know we were a team once, but you know what? It's one-on-one. You do what you got to do. And then the big time lariat, and then the 1, 2, 3. Kenny Omega loses, and we have a new champion. Anytime Adam Page is out there, no matter what arena, he blows the roof off. People respect Adam Page. Even though I remember being in Chicago, watching him against Chris Jericho, he was like the number 1 against the number 16 seed in the NCAA Final Four tournament for basketball. When I saw Adam Page take on Chris Jericho, I don't know if anyone in the house thought that Adam Page was going to win the AEW World Championship. And it's like, okay, so he's a young up-and-coming star, but not ready for the big time. And I never thought that he could win it. I think he would have just, again, blown the roof off if he would have won that night for All Out a few years ago. But now is the right time. Now is the right time for this babyface Adam Page that people really enjoy, that people like it. They like to chant cowboy shit. This is what they do. And they were really into the character. And so Adam Page, Hangman Adam Page, is the world champion. And so I think that this rivalry will continue between Page and Omega, but at least with Page being the AEW champion, I can see fresh matches taking place now with Adam Page. And hopefully we'll see that moving forward with him. But I really liked this match. And it was just hard hitting and back and forth, and not surprising that Kenny Omega had a great match because he only has great matches. When he's in singles competition, he has terrific matches. And again, for this era, for me as an old school wrestling fan, I can see why Omega has appeal. Because we saw all he did in New Japan, seeing what he's done in AEW, I can understand why he has these great matches. And he had, once again, another great match against Adam Page. So congratulations to Hangman Adam Page, the new champion. Now, I want to see if there's a rematch in the near future with Page and Omega, or some of the other matches, like maybe Bryan Danielson and Adam Page. Either way, Page is the champion, and now we're going to see over the next 6 months to 9 months, will the championship make Page, or will Page make the championship? That does matter, for sure. I know he's very popular. It's not one of these baby faces that gets booed like Cody Rhodes. He actually is appreciated and adored by so many AEW fans. So it's great for him. I thought that was the best match on the card. Let me get to other matches that I really enjoyed. Because I thought that Bryan Danielson and Miro were great. There were some other matches as well. But Adam Page, though, after everything was done, I mean, exhausted, sweating, but just overjoyed by being finally the AEW World's Champion.
This means everything, man. This is... now I'm going to cry. Man, this is just everything I worked for my whole life. I've just put so much of myself into this in ways that were tough, very tough, but ultimately very cathartic. And to hear people just losing their shit for it, man, you just can't pay for therapy like that. This is one of the biggest moments of my life. Genuinely.
Page, congratulations again. How significant is for you to win that belt over Kenny Omega?
The best wrestler in the world, and I beat him. There's nothing that could be more special. I've known Kenny for so long. I've looked up to Kenny. I mean, probably even before I started wrestling, I was watching clips of Kenny on YouTube. I remember the first time I saw Kenny was, the Falls Count Anywhere or whatever match outdoors where he takes a Hurricane Rana and rolls down the hill or whatever. I saw that as a kid almost, and somehow I ended up befriending him, and for a long time one of my best friends, and now bitter rivals. But to finally vanquish the person I've always thought was the best wrestler in the world. It feels surreal. It hasn't set in, I guess.
Adam, what do you hope to bring to AEW as AEW World Champion? What do you hope your reign signifies in the history of AEW?
Cowboy shit. I don't know. It's so tough. This has just happened for me. So it's very hard to get my thoughts together. And I'm sorry for a lot of these questions. I don't have very clear answers, but I have a feeling I will be up all night. I have a feeling I will text my media guy and I'll put out a little press release like I do sometimes.
Triangle sleeper locked in. What a one-on-one struggle this has been. The elbows, this is how. He got the stoppage against Eddie Kingston.
Miro trying to weather the storm.
Gouge in the
has. Gouge in the eyes.
You may not like it, but it's effective to get out of that triangle. Miro was on the verge of going out. That was desperation.
He's also on the verge of getting disqualified.
How much more can Bryan Danielson take? We've listed the matches he's had since he's arrived in AEW, and that's in a short span that he's had all these brutal matches. And now you got to wonder what he's got left. But look at Danielson not backing down. Just standing toe-to-toe with Miro, center of the ring, landing shots. Oh, Miro just... Oh boy, Miro's looked like hit me.
And he's getting hit all right by Danielson.
Look at the city.
Little bruise on the side of Miro's left side of his head.
Good God, what a... I mean, we've seen Danielson do this before. He stood toe-to-toe with Minoru Suzuki. Almost rope-a-doped him. Is that the case here tonight against Miro?
Miro inviting those kicks. Wouldn't say that was real wise. Hear that? Leather on flesh.
This is more than a wrestling match. What the hell is a struggle? It's a damn struggle.
Miro wants some more of those kicks. Are you sure that's what you want?
Miro, his expression changing ever so slightly, but he took 3 to land 1, and that one dropped Danielson again. How much more can a human take on either side?
These men have held nothing back.
Oh, you're right, JR.
Physically intense.
Danielson. Yeah, drop down the one knee there, Excalibur. Hammer and anvil elbows on the top. The elbow strike. Lord. Oh, wow. Miro just firing back with his right hand. Danielson repeated elbow strikes to the side of the head.
In a no man's land like territory to be fighting, and one man's on the top turnbuckle.
Oh, the DDT! Danielson hit a DDT off the top. It stunned him.
That may have taken. Miro may be knocked out.
It is. Yes. My God, he survived it.
Here is your winner and #1 contender for the AEW World Title, the American Dragon, Bryan Danielson.
Wow. That was my second favorite match for Full Gear. Omega and Page lit the world on fire with that main event, but Danielson and Miro that was a great match. That might have been Miro's best match in AEW, and it was in a loss. Bryan Danielson, every time you see him, it's a different way to win. And I like that because it gives variety. Everyone's had their finish, right? Hogan had its leg drop, and Shawn Michaels had his sweet chin music, and Bret Hart had his sharpshooter, and Ric Flair had his figure 4 leg lock, whatever, right? We remember everyone else's finishes. But Bryan Danielson brings something different in which every match we see him in, there's a different finish. And so even getting Miro in 20 minutes, that was a tremendous match. I really, really like that. And from Miro's standpoint, Miro doesn't take a step back, but Danielson now is the #1 contender. So Miro, again, I think is going to be in the mix where he's going to continue to win. He looks good. Now, I like that there's a story about his neck. It says, the weakness for Miro is his neck. But his promos are tremendous. They're not the silliness that when he came into AEW with the hair and the pajamas he was wearing and being with Ethan Page. It just didn't fit, right? Miro is a monster. And Miro was already TNT champion. Let's see whether or not he's going to get another championship in 2022. But he's serious, and so is Danielson. So Bryan Danielson is in his element right now. And for those that never saw Bryan Danielson on the indies, this is what you're getting right now. The 2021 Bryan Danielson right now, there's a guy there that when he was in Ring of Honor, He didn't care about the crowd. He didn't care about anything else besides just trying to put on a great match. And so when you see certain cities around AEW where they're still doing the yes chants, that's what they remember from him in the WWE. You see he hasn't done that, right? Because he's just locked in on being the American Dragon. The American Dragon is a big difference than Daniel Bryan. That is for sure. Please tell Jim Ross that the man's name is Bryan Danielson. I refer to him as Daniel Bryan. I'm not going to kill him for it, but just kind of like you call it Daniel Bryan twice. As a matter of fact, some of the media has called him Daniel Bryan in media scrums I've heard as well. That man is Bryan Danielson. I can't mistake in that because that's the guy I saw before he came to the WWE. Focused, locked in, probably a future AEW champion at some point. Really, really enjoyed this match because of physicality, and it's the best I've seen from Miro.
Listen to MJF screaming, writhing in pain of that injured knee.
As is Darby Allin. That lower back has been repeatedly punished by MJF throughout this match.
Oh, look at this.
Oh, here we go. At the top of the ramp. Sting comes up.
Sting intervening here on Wardlow and the chairman.
Sean Spears goes down. Wardlow goes down. The Pinnacle is coming to interfere on MJF's behalf, but Sting will have none of it.
Man, what a lifesaver Sting can be.
And Sting with that bat in hand, taking out the big man Wardlow. Roll up here. MJF. He's got the tight. Oh, the kick to the jaw.
But again, the troubling issues with the left knee of MJF are restricting his execution and restricting perhaps what he can do or not do.
Yeah, this is our first belt, and I'm already out of breath up here.
They're setting the bar higher, these two young
There
men.
they are. MJF grabbing Darby Allin's skateboard. What does MJF have in mind here? If he does this in front of the referee, it's disqualification. I don't think he cares. Oh, look. Look at these mind games he's playing.
He wants Darby to get disqualified.
Yes, he does.
wants Darby to lose by disqualification.
He knows how much Darby hates him. He's banking on that. He wants Darby to do it. And hell, so do I. Crack him right between the eyes. That's what he's counting on here. Darby thought better of it.
The ring.
He just stuffed the ring in his trunks.
Side headlock to the ring. MJF has cheated his way to a hell of a hard-fought victory by using that ring, Tony.
And no good son of a...
All right, enough swearing. And that is MJF defeating Darby Allin. That was over 20 minutes of excellent wrestling between the two. Excellent match between the two. That was just the opener. I mean, they got over 22 minutes to try to tell a story, and they did. Sting made sure that there was no outside interference, so it wasn't like they were circling the ring and doing all that nonsense. It was on way up the ramp, so that was just a little addition there, which we didn't need, by the way, but it happened. They wanted to make sure that Wardlow and the chairman did not interfere. Sting was there with a chair and a bat to make sure it didn't happen. But let me tell you, sometimes we forget about this because a lot of these matches that we see in AEW, WWE, independents, everywhere else, you just try to rush through and just do, just get their stuff in, right? Here's a flippy move. Here's another move. Here's another move. It just goes a million miles an hour. Up, down, side to side, A, B button, right? Here is MJF telling a story with Darby Allin that could be in any generation, 70s, 80s, 90s. MJF says, I could beat you with a side headlock takeover. I could beat you with a side headlock takeover. And, you know, for some wrestling fans, that's a disconnect because you're not even getting that all the time, right? You're not getting some of the fundamental wrestling moves that really built the business. So for MJF to say, "I'll beat you with a side headlock takeover," it's like, okay, sure you will. Sure you will. But the way that was put together and just the chemistry between the two made this one of the best matches on the card. It was tremendous. And whether or not you wanted Darby to win or MJF to win, doesn't matter. The point is that I loved this match because the psychology was there. It wasn't about all the how many moves they can get into one match if they get their shit in. It wasn't about that. It was about how psychology works. How MJF was able to deter the official, him pulling out the ring, cheated to win, 1, 2, 3. That was the finish, but it didn't tell the story because these two battled back and forth. It was a struggle to try to find out who's going to win this matchup, and I really, really like that in a big way. So that's one of my favorite matches for Full Gear. Omega Page, Danielson Miro, MJF, Darby. I thought those 3 matches were terrific. Oh, and there was one other one that I really, really liked as well.
I don't know if I've ever seen so much passion between two men, so much hatred. And we've seen a lot of them, JR. Oh, God, that's just... Think about this. For over 15 years, this animosity has been simmering.
Uh-oh. Right off the top.
Superplex by Kingston.
Yep. Both men suffering the ails of that superplex. This match, 1 fall. 30-minute time limit.
Mercifully for Punk, it looks like most of the blood has cleared out of his eyes. The blood you see on Eddie fans, you know by now, it's CM Punk's blood.
Our AEW fans are so astute. They know what good pro wrestling is, what it looks like, what it smells like, and what it tastes like.
Look at these gladiators across the ring from one another. Stare down, baby. And they charge to center. It's like Fry and Takayama here in Minneapolis. Damn, this is good.
I remember that fight.
Oh, look at these just right hands. Ooh. Kingston, high boot.
Kick right out of Idaho.
Enziguri drops Punk to a knee. Look at Punk, though. Didn't go all the way down. He's trying to pull himself up.
Look at his eyes.
Kingston disoriented by that exchange.
I wonder what he's seeing. I wonder what Eddie is thinking. Fans are loving this.
Oh.
Go to sleep.
Oh, God. Kingston calling his shot. Don't have to. Oh, but Punk. JTS.
That go to sleep is absolutely deadly.
But Punk, he can barely hold himself up on a rope. He's not capitalizing.
You got to wonder where the fatigue really sets in and you feel like you're in that deep water. Maybe now?
Well, I mean, with this type of match, the emotions, the energy is so high. Both men likely just pacing, amped up backstage.
Remember, Punk he was out of the business, out of the game for 7 years. Equals no matches. He's got back here suddenly in a big league way. And I don't know, how far can he go? Where is he in his mindset? Do you want to pay this price again in your career?
He's obviously stayed in great shape. Oh, Kingston went for the back fist, but it seems the adrenaline dump has set in for both men. The fatigue now becoming a factor. Kingston on roller skates. Punk elbow strikes, drops Kingston down to his knees. Brutal.
Corner of the elbow. Knows all about some of those MMA stylings.
CM Punk still training at Rufus Sport.
Those knees.
Repeated knees, and now got Kingston up. Goes to sleep. Kingston won't get up from that.
Will that do it? It does do it.
CM Punk.
It's just amazing to me that the whole thing stems from somebody interrupting me while I'm trying to do an interview. Hopefully nobody does that tonight. I'm high as a kite right now, and I don't do drugs, so it's strictly from the match and that audience and what we do here. So redemption? I don't know, but I sure did have a whole lot of fun.
After the match, Punk, you motioned like you were going for the belt. Is that your next goal or achievement?
Strap season, baby.
Yeah.
Why not? Why not? All right, I don't know either.
You did it. Punk, tell us about that promo with Eddie Kingston a few weeks ago in Rampage. I mean, we know all about you in the promos, the pipe bombs, but what Eddie Kingston did with you was great. Tell us about that.
Again, pro wrestling, man. I think when you get people who are, it's kind of ironic, right? Because we're characters, but we're not. We're real people. You know what I mean? What you see is what you get with me. What you see is what you get with Eddie. And I hate peeling the curtain back, so to speak, but I used to watch professional wrestling all the time, and two dudes can get into an argument, and then they can fight about it, and it doesn't really have to be deeper than that. And if you can get people to relate to that stuff, you can get people to relate to, oh man, I was at a job one time and maybe I didn't apply myself 100%. There's that guy in the office that always called me out on it, screw that guy. And vice versa. Everybody can take a side when you put me and Eddie in the ring, and I don't care what side you take. It's just you're going to take a side. There's going to be some situation in your life, your past, your experiences that, as you watch that on television, you're engaged, and that was the whole point. Jerry Lawler used to do it all the damn time. Nobody's done it since, so we're doing it. What's old is new.
Punk, the last time that we were here, we were all talking about, you coming into the company and all of that. So now, you've been here for a while, so I kind of want to get your thoughts on how the experience has been in terms of, have you been surprised or anything, any sort of unexpected stuff? How have you been enjoying it?
Man, I don't know if anything was a big surprise, except just maybe just how consistent we are, I have opinions just like the fans do. Not everybody's going to love me or what I do. I don't necessarily have to, like everything on the TV show, but that's the whole point, is we're not giving you one thing for 2 hours or 3 hours. We're giving you a variety of different things. And I think everybody who loves pro wrestling can find something that they love about the show. To me, that's the most. I don't even think it's really surprising. It's a breath of fresh air. It's different, and it's rad. And it's one of the reasons I was drawn to this place. It's one of the reasons why I wanted to be here. And it's one of the reasons I'm here.
You heard there from CM Punk as he talked about his matchup against Eddie Kingston. Man, that was hard hitting too. And even though the build was short, I liked the action that was in the ring. I don't know if they're going to have a rematch or anything like that, but I thought that the match was interesting. Eddie Kingston's story, if you didn't read the Players Tribune, that was a tremendous story. Go to the Players Tribune and take a look at that article, and it gives you more context to who Eddie Kingston is. And I wish the AEW TV had more time to explain who he is. And I'm going to talk to Jason Powell about a lot of these things with AEW here as we review their last big show for the 2021 season. So, but I thought the CM Punk and Kingston told a great story. They were out there for 11 minutes. It seemed longer, but the action was just hard hitting, right? It was almost like a quasi MMA fight in some ways too. But Kingston and Punk did a really good job for the amount of time that they were allotted. I want to know whether or not it goes to a different level between these two. Kingston, he really, I guess maybe in his case, some people say if Eddie loses, it's still a victory because we were able to see him wrestle. But wouldn't it be something if Kingston would have beat CM Punk? Could have been something, because Kingston telegraphed it early. If you remember the promos before this matchup, Kingston's like, yeah, I don't care. I might lose. I'm just here to just beat you up. I'm just here to beat your ass. And it's kind of like, okay, that's interesting. So you're pretty much telling me you're going to lose the match and you're going to beat up CM Punk. And he did beat up CM Punk. Punk bled. And it was just a brawl, and that's exactly what I thought it would be. So I really like those matches. Just a quick review of some of the other matches, and this is a 4-hour pay-per-view, and I had no problem with it. I'm glad it was 4 hours. It was one of their major events. I see this as one of their tentpole events, Full Gear. The AEW Tag Team Championship match with the Lucha Brothers against FTR. I thought this match would be better. I thought that the match was an A+ until you got to the finish. The finish was odd because you start to see FTR put on those masks as if they are AAA wrestlers with masks, right? Like they were Mexican wrestlers, and they started to put the mask on, and I just thought that was just kind of, it lost me, because if you're going to do the Killer Bee gimmick with B. Brian Blair and Jim Brunzell, the way they used to do the mask gimmick, it's kind of like, okay, so you have to have some kind of misdirection, right? One wrestler has to put on the mask, the other one's got to put on the mask, the referee has to figure out who's legal, and then there's kind of this way of just trying to convolute the finish there. I just thought that it was kind of overthought. It was not a great finish. I think the right team won in Lucha Brothers, but I just thought that the ending was a little clunky. It just almost like there was a lot of great moments in the match, right? Great ebb and flow, back and forth. A lot of near falls where FTR almost won the AEW Tag Team Championships, but then the end was just kind of weird. Like, why is one guy got a mask on, and we know which one's which, and it's kind of like, yeah, it was just kind of an odd finish. So that's why it was good, but it could have been great. The old switcheroo of the legal man just didn't seem to work, especially with one of the guys underneath the ring. Like, I don't know what they're trying to do there. Christian Cage and Jurassic Express against the Super Click. Falls Count Anywhere. Thought this was, obviously for what it was, a lot of chairs and a lot of tables that's thrown out there. You just knew it was going to be crazy. One of the few times where the Young Bucks are involved in a match, and it was quite the brawl. A lot of spots, but that's exactly what this match called for. So it's what I thought it was going to be when you have a Falls Count Anywhere matchup. Good. Not great, but good. It was a spectacle for sure. Cody Rhodes and Pac against Malachi Black and Andrade El Idolo. So, once again, Cody Rhodes gets booed. Everywhere he goes now, he gets booed. And even though he's coming across as this supreme baby face, he takes his weight belt off, gives it to a special needs gentleman, and that didn't seem to make the crowd happy down the stretch here in this matchup. So it's Cody Rhodes and Pac has just been on a roll right now. Every match he's in, he's excellent, right? So Cody Rhodes and Pac taking on Malachi Black and Andrade El Idolo. And I thought that this matchup was solid. Again, not great. Love what I see from Pac when I see him wrestle. So that's pretty solid. Malachi Black is just on a roll right now. So no surprise there. I'm wondering if Cody Rhodes and Pac, if they're going to be a tag team moving forward. And I don't know if that's going to be the case. But this match was solid. Not great. And again, Cody Rhodes is in it, so sometimes he gets a little convoluted. Let's move on to the Inner Circle against Ethan Page, Scorpio Sky, Junior Dos Santos, Orlovsky, and Dan Lambert in the Minneapolis street fight. Again, what's really the difference between this Minneapolis street fight and the matchup I told you earlier about Falls Count Anywhere? See, it gets redundant after a while, right? So you have two matches that are kind of the same. And so the match was fine. It was not great. But it was fine. I was impressed by Junior Dos Santos. I was impressed by him. He's not an embarrassment in there. Actually, if they give him more seasoning, he could be a regular on the AEW roster. Obviously, he needs a lot more work, but he was not an embarrassment out there. Love to see the 81-year-old Baron von Raschke put the claw on Ethan Page. It was good to see him. I grew up watching the Baron from the AWA. He still lives in the Midwest. I believe he lives in Wisconsin, but he came in for this matchup and for this card here, and so he got a spot in the show where he was able to put the claw on. I thought that was fun. Lambert was very good in his manager spots. Lambert is not a professional wrestler, but because he talks a good game, he was forced into the matchup. So, I mean, there's heat on Lambert, and I think people enjoyed that. But, here's the thing. Jericho and a number of other, Dylan Rose and others, they were trying to pay tribute to Eddie Guerrero, and I can understand why. Eddie Guerrero died in Minneapolis in a hotel not too far away from the Target Center where this show emanated from. I know for a certain generation of wrestling fans, they look at Eddie Guerrero as like one of the tops that ever wrestled. But there is tributes and then there's over the top, right? So we saw a number of frog splashes. I mean, like 3 or 4 matches where frog splashes were involved to give Eddie Guerrero the rub, to give him a tribute. And like the 3 Amigos, I think we saw that several times on this card where there's the 3 suplexes. And it's like, okay, bro, there has to be some kind of creative control here. Like every match can't have an Eddie Guerrero spot in it. I think we all appreciate what Eddie Guerrero brought to the table as a wrestler. I just thought that was fascinating that we saw so much of it on this card. So here's where I'm talking about. Jericho at the end, the finish was him giving a frog splash to Dan Lambert. And I thought, okay. And then he was looking up in the sky and kept looking up in the sky and all this. And it's kind of like, okay, like we understand that Eddie was your friend. I just thought that if anyone's going to do it, right? If anyone's going to do it, it's Chris Jericho, because they were friends. But I saw this in multiple matches and I was just kind of like, okay, at some point there's a way for you to do a video tribute, but like in the match, like all these Eddie Guerrero spots I thought were very odd to me. That's all. And again, the match was just there. I thought it was redundant with the other matchup. So, it was what it was. Chris Jericho again in a schmaz and a whole bunch of gaga in a matchup. It's not like we've never seen that before. Good to see Jay Lethal is going to be in AEW. That was a nice announcement for him to just roll out there as he's going to be part of the All Elite crew, and immediately he goes into a matchup against Sammy Guevara. Well, that's quick. I mean, he comes from off of Ring of Honor TV and right into a TNT Championship matchup against Sammy Guevara. Well, I mean, if it's a Jay Lethal match, it should be one of the best matches on that card on Wednesday night and Dynamite, but we will see. But that is probably one of the best matches Sammy's going to ever have against Jay Lethal, because that guy is a monster. He is a terrific wrestler. And after his time with TNA and his time with Ring of Honor, it's good that the veteran has an opportunity for the TNT Championship. It's soon, but at least he's going to be All Elite for Wednesday night. All right. So I really enjoyed this pay-per-view. I thought it was very, very solid. And, for the last pay-per-view of the year for AEW, they got their champion and Adam Page. I thought that was a great match, as I mentioned. And just, I'll point out one other thing, and that is the women's match for the AEW Women's Championship with Dr. Britt Baker, and her matchup against Ty Conti. Just something very quickly about this. Do you know why Ty Conti had the title shot? Because of Tuesday Wrestling Tuesday. If you're an avid listener of this podcast, you know why she got the title shot. Do you remember when I had Tony Khan on? I told him there's 2 wrestlers when I was in Chicago and in Milwaukee that got huge pops. I said, you're producing, Tony, but I'm in the crowd with the fans. 2 people. I told him Dante Martin. He goes, oh, yeah, I do. I knew it was Dante Martin. I said, the other one's Ty Conti. He goes, oh, do you remember him saying that? He said that on this program, on Tuesday Wrestling Tuesday, he didn't know that I was going to say Ty Conti, because Dante Martin always gets a pop. He's 20 years old. He's a phenom already as far as what he can do in the ring. But I say Ty Conti. And guess what? From the interview, take a look at the one-loss record from Ty Conti since I told him that the biggest pops in Chicago and Milwaukee came to Ty Conti. First of all, she looks tremendous. And on top of that, she's a tremendous wrestler that brings something different to the table, good looking, and has all that Muay Thai and all the different type of wrestling and fighting techniques that she brings. Now, I didn't think the match was great by any stretch, but I thought that Ty Conti took it up another level. She was pretty stiff, I thought, on Dr. Britt Baker. But again, it wasn't the greatest match I've seen yet in AEW from the women's division. So just understand, Ty Conti, you owe me because I put you in that spot. Because I told Tony Khan the biggest pops came from you in Chicago, one of the biggest pops. And he goes, and all of a sudden, she's in the title picture. So I'm happy for her. I'm definitely happy for her. Hey, Tuesday Wrestling Tuesday brought to you by Manscaped.com. Manscaped.com. I told you guys, if you have not ordered, you should do that. For below-the-waist men's grooming and for that ear and nose hair and that nastiness around your ears and your nose and your armpits. Let me tell you, the Lawnmower 4.0, the ball deodorizer, your balls will thank you. Go to manscaped.com, use the promo code HOOD, HOOD, and get 20% off. It's a great gift for you or someone else. Just use my promo code HOOD, manscaped.com. They'll get a box filled with goodies from manscaped.com and also boxers. They bring you boxers as well from Manscaped. Hey, just tell them Jonathan Hood sent you. Use the promo code HOOD. All right, here's my conversation now with Jason Powell from the Twin Cities. He covers pro wrestling like a blanket for prowrestling.net. Let's reach out now to Jason Powell, and we'll talk more about AEW Full Gear in this extended edition of Tuesday Wrestling Tuesday. What an amazing event in the Twin Cities for AEW Full Gear. Jason Powell, my friend from the Twin Cities, was there from prowrestling.net. As we have our conversation, go to prowrestling.net. He joins me, Jonathan Hood, on Tuesday Wrestling Tuesday right here on ESPN Chicago. Jason, as always, I appreciate your time. Thanks for coming on the show.
It's great to be here. I know what happened. You saw the Baron, you thought AWA, and you're like, I got to call Powell.
Well, it's exactly right. I mean, when the Baron shows up, and by the way, ageless, by the way, him and J.J. Dillon, they never age. How does that happen?
I know. Baron's look, him and Arn Anderson, we got to throw him in there.
Yeah.
Much like Brock Anderson, looks like he's in his 40s, even though he's like 23, 24 years old.
Right.
His father has looked the same age now for like 35 years.
It is amazing, right? I'm seeing the Baron, and you know what? Listen, if it's me, I'm selling the claw a little bit longer. You know, I mean, it's the Baron. He's in the front row. I think he should have had the claw on for at least 5 minutes. That's what I would have thought.
Yeah, they should just be having him let go right about that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly right. Ethan Page, I'm down on him because he should have let that claw happen for a long time. I tweeted at you on Saturday, and I said, you know, the first official match, MJF against Darby Allin, that would trump anything Vern would have had in the AWA, because usually that was Steve Olszewski against Buck Zumhoff in a draw. So this is the best opening match, I think, in Minneapolis wrestling history, I would say.
It might, a little better than Buck Zumhoff and Mr. Electricity Steve.
Exactly. It is exactly right. Well, I just want to get your overall thoughts on Full Gear. First of all, the choice of coming to the Twin Cities, a great wrestling city, as you and I both know because you're there. I just like the idea that it was in Minneapolis. It's a shot in the arm, I think, for the city to have great wrestling cards again.
And it wasn't supposed to be here. That's the funny thing. They've been I was told, kind of holding out on coming here. I don't know if they'll ever admit to it. But apparently their pay-per-view numbers are, they kind of get the breakdown of where they do well. And I'm guessing TV ratings factor in as well. And that's kind of how they gauge where they go. And for some reason, Minnesota hasn't been kind to them. And because if you recall, it was supposed to be the previous weekend in St. Louis. But then they thought they were going to run up against a big UFC show and a boxing event. And I'm guessing the venue in St. Louis wasn't available. And so they made the switch and decided to come here. And I'm happy they did. It was a great time.
A legit sellout, correct?
No. So it may be a sellout in terms of how many tickets they released. But I could look up in the up in the nosebleeds, and there were rows of empty seats. So it wasn't like full but I think they leapt. I think they can get away with saying it was a sellout because they only released so many tickets. But I mean, really good turnout. It was, I'm guessing, 10, 11,000. Or, you know what? I think they'd set it up for 12, and they could have gone more. So probably 12,000 and some change. And then the thing that worked against them, too, was on the day of the show, we got our first snowball. And so, of course, everyone in Minnesota, even though they should be more than used to it, acts like they've never seen snow before and just curls up in the field position and wouldn't go get the same day tickets. So no walk-up crowd for this one.
So the always the sign, Jason, for any of these major events, and I would say that Full Gear is... It's a Starcade, I would say, or maybe the Survivor Series in this case for AEW. Could you tell whether or not there were fans from out of town that came in? Because if they flew into the event, that's a step in the right direction for AEW, isn't it?
Yeah, and there were some. I know this because at Rampage the night before, just killing some time, Justin Roberts was asking people, are anybody from this area, and pretty much every place he mentioned got some sort of a reaction. So yeah, and of course when he mentioned Wisconsin, that got booze from me. But other than that, yeah, it seemed he mentioned North Carolina, South Carolina, the Dakotas, and there were people reacting. So I think there were a lot of people that did travel in from various places. Maybe not as much as you get for an all-out or double or nothing, where it's Chicago and Vegas and all that. But I think it sure seemed like they did, and there was a lot of media that came in from out of town as well.
So with Hangman Adam Page winning the AEW Championship against Kenny Omega, one of my criticisms for AEW, and again, it's a new company, so they're going to learn, especially if they last, Jason, is matches versus story. I mean, with this roster, you could put it together 100 dream matches, and I think that it'll get over. But my criticism at times with AEW is, hey, your pay-per-views are quarterly or every other month. You have big events, so I think that you have room for story. Would you consider Adam Page and Kenny Omega like the longest storyline? Do you consider that a real built-in long-form story, or did it feel a little choppy to you at times?
It definitely felt choppy at times. There's people that will rave about this and call it the greatest story ever told, and I'm not in that camp. I think they told a good story that just kind of got pushed aside at different times and didn't, it all kind of came together nicely with the Dark Order in the moment after the show, but I wasn't a big fan of all of that while it was happening. It seemed like they got a really good reaction from being the elite crowd for that, but I just never completely got into, okay, this is the future world champion hanging out with a group that just doesn't come off as big league all the time. And like I say, it came together nicely with the post-match celebration, them hoisting him up and all, but there were times when he was with them where I was like, boy, they're bringing him down.
Yeah, so the birth of his child, I think, interrupted whatever story that they were trying to tell. I just think that AEW had to masterfully put this all together for it to make sense, because a 3-year storyline, it didn't seem like a 3-year storyline because of Adam Page being with the Dark Order, Kenny Omega with Don Cal. It didn't seem to all come together. Obviously, the culmination was in Minneapolis, but the point is that for someone to tell me, well, this has been a 3-year story, it didn't feel like it to me. So I guess moving forward, they'll continue this storyline, right? Because I'm sure Omega's going to want his rematch.
Yeah, I don't think we're done with it. I mean, obviously, Bryan Danielson seems to be next in line, and they'll probably, I don't know if that's going to be TV, but they saved that for their special that they're doing in January on TNT. They have this 3-hour kind of Clash of Champions like special. I think 3 hours. I guess I don't even know off the top of my head. Yeah, but it does sound like there's more to come with Kenny and Page down the road. And I guess, in fairness to them, if you're going to do a 2-3 year story, you can't make it can't be front and center for the entire 2 or 3 years. And so, while I don't think it was this amazingly told story like some people do, it was a good story, and it peaked at the end. And, they did have to push it back. It was supposed to take place Labor Day weekend, but I don't think that really changed a lot. It just kind of pushed the match and the title change back to the next pay-per-view. The
AEW Women's Championship with Dr. Britt Baker against Ty Conti. So maybe it's just my TV or when I'm in the arena seeing Dr. Britt Baker, there's a really stark difference to me, Jason, in, say, Dr. Britt Baker matches and, say, Charlotte or Sasha Banks or even Bianca Belair at times. I understand there's different styles there, but is it just me, or is it that this particular match and other matches that Dr. Britt Baker's had, she's been impressive, but the matches aren't necessarily smooth? Like, I thought that this was a solid match, better than average. But have you seen what you would consider, wow, that is a classic Dr. Britt Baker match where you say, boy, she's on the top of her game?
One, and it doesn't officially count. It was the match with Thunder Rosa.
Yeah.
Which was the big brawl. I'm with you. I hear people saying she's the best female wrestler in the world today. And I'm just looking at it going, she's really popular. She's really over. If you want to say she's one of the best female, or just even throughout the whole male-female thing, you just want to say she's one of the best characters, I can listen to that.
Sure.
When you start saying best wrestler, no, the body of work isn't there. It's just not yet. I don't even mean to take anything away from her, but it's just realistically, no, she's not there. She just doesn't have that long list of impressive matches like so many others do. Hopefully she'll get there.
I'll ask, do you think it's the opponent or her?
I think both. You know, I remember talking with Britt. I interviewed her ahead of All In. And just to give you an idea, I mean, she's been wrestling for a while, obviously, but to give you an idea of her experience level, that was the first time she'd ever been in I think it was a four-way match, or I don't think she'd been in a triple threat even. I think she'd kind of been limited to mostly singles matches, which makes sense considering where she was at in her development. And she was very nervous about that. You know, she was open about having never done this before and having to go in their biggest stage of her career and having to do this four-way. And they really pulled it off. But I think it just shows she doesn't have as much experience as some of the people you mentioned. Bianca's kind of a freak. You know, she's just an athletic freak. And it's amazing what she's been able to do. I don't think Britt is bad. I just think she gets overrated in some circles.
It's based on the promo. And by the way, that's nothing wrong with that. If your promo is exactly where it needs to be, then the wrestling has to be able to follow up too. So I get that. And you know what? I'll give her room to grow. I just think that just because she has the championship, I'm just trying to determine whether or not the championship's making her or she's making the championship. And so with more time, more seasoning, I guess that'll come, right?
I think so, yeah. You would think with her working now, some of it too, I think early on it was the caliber of people she was working with in some cases. You know, they've added to the division. I think working with Ruby Soho, for instance, is really going to help her a lot.
So the first match, I was mentioning this to you earlier about MJF and Darby Allin. You know, just the psychology of that, it puts me in a position where I could put this as one of the top matches on the card, just because of what MJF put out there first. I love that, Jason. He says, you know, I could beat you with a side headlock takeover. And apparently he's done this in PWG, which I was not familiar with, but he's done this same angle. And I just thought the psychology, you could put this in any decade and it would work. I love that match. I don't know. What did you think?
Loved it. Yeah, I thought it was outstanding. I really enjoyed that. And I expected it to be good. I did not expect it to be that good. I didn't even know if they'd get... Once I saw them open the show, it was kind of like, oh, you know, okay. I don't know how much time they're going to get here. And instead, they gave them a lot of time. I think north of 20 minutes.
Yes.
Give or take. And they did a great job of filming it. That was one of my favorite matches of the night by far, and I felt like a couple of the matches that followed had a hard time living up to that.
I've been on these media calls, and so have you, with Cody Rhodes when he has the opportunity. A lot of times it's Tony doing a lot of talking, but with Cody Rhodes, he's been talking. And one of the things that seems to resonate every time that he speaks is, you know, I'm not really into the wrestling tired tropes of, you know, bad guy and good guy or babyface or heel. He says he's unfazed by the booing that he's receiving. Jason, you know that's not true, right? I mean, you know, if he is anything like Dusty Rhodes, he is affected by the booing. I remember in Turner Broadcasting when on a Saturday, there was a section of fans booing Dusty Rhodes during the promo, and he just like brought the camera over to the fans and pointed at the fans and says, I don't care if you're booing at me or not, you can get out of here, right? He was pissed off as a babyface that he's getting booed. Do you believe Cody when he says, I'm not concerned, because he's doing everything he can to be a babyface, and he's booed out of every building, Cena style?
Hell no, I don't believe him. Cena was the only guy. He changed that because it wasn't uncommon back in the day for a babyface who was getting booed to start lashing out at fans. And it wasn't scripted in most cases. It was just Shawn Michaels was famous for it. He'd throw tantrums if fans started turning on him.
Yeah.
And John Cena came along and he was the first guy to say, doesn't bother me. I'm going to just do my thing. And it took me a long time to believe it. Because I'm like, no way. Every wrestler wants to get it. It's a babyface wants to be cheered. I really do believe John Cena was sincere. But he's the only one so far. Maybe I'm forgetting someone. But when I hear Cody say stuff like that, BS. He desperately wants to be cheered and loved by all. Unless all of this is some elaborate thing and he's saying he doesn't want to turn heel, knowing full well that he's going to. I go back and forth on that. I don't think he is. I think he should. But I don't think he wants to, and I don't really understand his logic behind it.
If it wasn't for the popular song, Jason Powell, this would be Chris Jericho being booed. Look at what's happening with his career. Come on. After being the AEW champion, he is just glomming onto anything that's hot, anything that's popular. And being with the Inner Circle is great. He's with a lot of great athletes, but I just think that Chris Jericho and what's going on with him now is a lot different than when he was the AEW champion. He involves himself in a lot of these storylines, and now with MMA fighters as well. I think that Chris Jericho would be getting the boos and the raspberries from fans if it wasn't for how popular the song that he has.
Maybe, Jericho, he's just been so popular with, no matter if even if they loved him, hate him.
Yeah.
He's been so popular with fans for so long that I don't know that he would be, but I think a case could be made that he should be, given some of the things he's. And I think both guys are making kind of similar plays. Jericho's had a little bit better grasp on what's going to work. Putting himself in there in the death match, for instance, not for everybody, but those who do like it loved it.
Right.
And it was something completely unexpected for Chris Jericho, where Cody, he puts himself in there with Anthony Ogogo and QT Marshall, and it's just. People didn't want to see that. They don't want to see Cody have 2 entrance theme songs. They don't want to see Cody, even now that he is apparently trying to win us over, they don't want to see, okay, someone's going to make a save. Regular people are going to run down the stage. Cody's going to make a special entrance through the crowd because apparently he was buying a pretzel. It doesn't make any sense. But it just it's things like that. I had somebody in the media section, I can't understand why people are booing him. I'm like, I could give you 100 reasons with ease. There's plenty of reasons, and he just seems oblivious, or again, maybe I'm not giving him enough credit. Maybe it's all part of some elaborate plan to turn heel, and if it is, good for him.
Hopefully that is the case because, listen, on the surface, you see a hot wife who's an executive. You have your own TV show. You're on a game show. You're the son of Dusty Rhodes. You're in the back, and you have the marionette strings pretty much around AEW next to Tony Khan. So, people look at that and they say, well, this is the next Triple H because you're living Triple H's life in a lot of ways in that way. So maybe that's why there's not a lot of sympathy from fans. A guy that's trying to be a babyface that's not getting over. So
trying too hard.
Yeah.
And I think there's going to be some resentment too of, okay, if this were almost anybody else and they were getting booed, the company would just say, okay, let's turn him heel. But Cody doesn't want to, so he gets special treatment. That is not going to endear him to the people he wants to have cheer him. It's going to turn them off.
I was not privy to Eddie Kingston's life and his background until I saw the Players Tribune. Jason, that is, if no one has seen that, by the way, we ask you to go to the Players Tribune and check out the piece written about Eddie Kingston, penned by him, talking about his life, and he takes on CM Punk. Man, I don't like that it was rushed. 2-week build into it, but I like that I got a nice payoff, and hopefully this will continue. But I love the Eddie Kingston story as he takes on CM Punk. I think it was a short build, but I liked what I read and researched before the matchup took place.
love that piece that you referenced.
Yeah.
I definitely highly recommend it. There's been a lot of grumbling about how quick that came together. And I'm kicking myself for not asking that at the media scrum if that was by design. Because, you'd think these two great talkers could have this epic series of back and forth, but there is something to be said for, wow, this is really combustible. These two can't stand each other, and it came together really quickly, never had a chance to get old. I wonder if it was on purpose.
You know what? I think that would give people an understanding of who Eddie Kingston was. Look, the one thing about this company at times, Jason, is that they think everyone's smart. That everyone knows about, this guy's from the Indies. Oh, this guy's from Mexico. Oh, you're supposed to know, right? You know, right? No, I don't. No, I don't. Some of us actually, work for a living, or some of us, are into wrestling and we cover it for a living, and so we get a chance to know. But I think that the mistake from Tony Khan at times is, if I just bring this guy in from New Japan or from AAA, the audience knows who these people are. Well, that's what WWE always does well. They explain to you who these wrestlers are, even in their own image. If they have to change the image, they will tell you from the beginning, here's who this person is. This is why you should care. You just can't just roll people in from the Indies and just say, well, this is who this guy is. You should care. I mean, you have to be able to take enough time to explain. I think that is to the detriment of AEW at times for the casual fan.
Amen. It absolutely is. It's the same issue that I've had with Ring of Honor over the years.
Mm-hmm.
You feel late to the party. You don't want to make your audience feel late to the party. And that's oftentimes, Ring of Honor would bring in somebody from the indie scene that, maybe is a big deal in their area, and just super fans out there, and that's it, and act like everyone should know who they are. And then leave it to the broadcast team to fill in the gaps. It's the same mistake now that AEW is making. I don't like it. There's a lot of great things about AEW, but WWE, there's things that obviously not so great with them. But you mentioned they do bring you up to speed, and I think another thing AEW can learn from WWE is those video packages.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're watching the show every week, it might get tiresome to see video packages recapping what you've already seen. But AEW is a growing company, and they seem to be having a hard time getting past this initial wave of whatever number it is that the diehard fans who are watching every week. You have them. Start thinking about the fans you don't have. Make it easier for them. They're not watching every single week. Make it easy for them to know who the new people are. Make it easy for them to catch up if they've missed a week's worth of shows by giving them a video package that brings them up to speed. There's reasons that WWE does certain things and does them so well, and I think a company like AEW can learn from those things.
And if you don't believe us, listen to Jim Ross's commentary. Where he has to ask Excalibur, what's this whole thing with the Lucha Brothers? What's with these hand signals? Well, if one of the broadcasters doesn't know, then maybe that says a lot for some of the audience that doesn't know either. So that's...
And unfortunately, John, there's this internal belief, I think, not with everybody, but with some people, that it's just Jim Ross being crotchety Jim Ross, and they don't listen to it because they're living in the bubble. JR's not living in that bubble.
No.
The things he can be crotchety about the zone out, sure. But there are plenty of things that he's not. He's trying to teach them lessons, and they need to learn those lessons.
All right, Jason, where do you place the Danielson-Miro match amongst the best you saw on Saturday?
Not as high as I would like.
Really?
I liked it. Yeah, I did enjoy it. I had really high expectations for it, and I don't feel like it quite met those. So, some of it, again, is on my expectations, and it's not a match I've gone back and watched yet. I've only had time to go back and watch a couple of different matches. But that one I do want to check out again. Maybe I'll feel differently the second time. Like I said, I enjoyed it. I'm not trying to sell it short. I didn't think it was as good as the main event. I didn't think it was as good as the opener. I didn't think it was as good as Punk and Kingston. Those come to mind as my favorite matches on the show.
All right, so as we wrap up pretty much 2021 here, because this is the last major event, what are your thoughts of AEW coming on the other side of the pandemic and running arenas again? What would you say the focus is for AEW moving forward?
I think to regain some of the lost audience, some of it is due to the baseball playoffs and the NBA, and you're always going to run into the NBA and now the NHL on TNT, and Tony Khan has admitted that they're moving to TBS, but it doesn't mean they're never going to NHL playoffs, at some point, they're going to need more than just TNT. And so there's still going to be preemptions, but I do think they went through a stretch here with these Saturday shows where you've lost some of the more casual viewers. So I think regain some of the casual viewers you've lost, but also keep adding casual viewers. You have the diehard audience, and be true to them, take good care of them, but don't make them the center of everything where it can't. You're making everybody else feel late to the party. You have to keep expanding, and they've done some great things. You know, as much as we're kind of grumbling about certain aspects, I really enjoy the product, and I want to see it grow. And that's why I hope they take the necessary steps.
I said this, Jason, and I'll say this lastly. I've said on this program, I'm sure you said this as well, prowrestling.net, do not make mistakes in the past. I know that there's a lot of free agents out there, but I don't want to have you and I have this conversation in 3 to 5 years and say, you remember Jungle Boy? Remember MJF? Remember those guys that were in their 20s? Remember Anna Jay? Remember some of these wrestlers that were 25 and younger that was supposed to be the future, and all of a sudden they got top heavy with Ring of Honor stars and all the free agents that WWE released. That's the mistake that we've seen in WCW. We've seen this in TNA. You just don't want to forget about your young core along with the veterans. You don't have to stockpile 20 or 25 more wrestlers that are veterans looking for the big payday versus trying to grow young wrestlers. But this is Bischoff made the mistake, actually in both organizations, in WCW and TNA. So hopefully Tony has seen that and won't be doing that for the future.
Agreed. And I want to add to it and say that I hope that they find a way to reach out to the family audience. I don't know what your experience is. I've just been to the 2 shows. Mm-hmm. But it really was surprising to look around the building both nights and see so few families. Like, there were some kids there, hardly any. And I'm not saying you need to turn this into PG product or anything like that, but you're doing something that's keeping those people away. Figure out what it is. And again, you don't have to be WWE PG, but you can tone down certain aspects. You know, Chris Jericho doesn't need to cuss every week, for instance.
Yeah.
So what is it? What is it you're doing to that you're not attracting those types of fans? It's great you have a young male audience, and that's all well and good. And they're going to grow up with you. That's great. But so do children, and they're around a lot longer if you can hook them now. Cradle to grave, as Linda McMahon famously said. So I think, that's an area where there's still room for growth.
Yeah, you and I do a million podcasts, and I'll do shows on Sirius XM as well. I can swear I don't have to every show. So same thing with AEW. Yes, you're on cable, and yes, you can do it. Doesn't mean you have to, especially when it's not impactful. So I totally understand your point there.
Yeah, I enjoy cussing with the best of them. Offended by it, but I'm also looking at it going, you guys are running a business, and there's certain parts of your audience that don't seem to be showing up for some reason. Why would that be?
Well, I mean, of course you like to curse. You're a Vikings fan. Of course you like to swear.
Yes, I think some of my first words were hearing, family members cussing and swearing about the Vikings. Yes, it's definitely a family trait.
You have done so many podcasts and shows around Full Gear and other things that's happening. If I go to prowrestling.net, what would I find, Jason?
Oh, man, probably a live review of some television show if there's one on, that's for sure. So live review, and, we don't just run the report where it's like, here, who be who. So if you see the show, you'll get that. If you miss the show, you'll get that. But you also get our live commentary. Just an instant reaction to what we're seeing on pay-per-view shows and television shows from all the major groups, many of them live reviews of Raw, SmackDown, Dynamite, Rampage, for instance. And then also just get your news fix. You can get my hit list as well, where I kind of run through the shows and give hits and misses to each of the matches and segments from those major television shows and pay-per-views. So if you need a wrestling fix, we have you covered at prowrestling.net.
Prowrestling.net, indeed. Well, you're still watching Raw. Wow, I can't believe that. Wow.
It's been a little better. Just a little. I'm not hating life by the end of the 3 hours here these last 2 weeks. After a whole year of just like, why am I doing this? It's been a little better.
Thank you for the Bockwinkel retrospective, too, by the way, because that's my guy, Nick Bockwinkel. Thank you very much for that.
Nick was the man.
Yes, that was my guy. Still my guy. Loved him. Well, Jason, I'm glad you spent some time, and hope again we'll get a chance to talk soon. But it's in the Twin Cities. Of course I'm going to call Powell. There's Baron. There's Twin Cities Wrestling. Of course I'm calling you. The first person I called.
And it's a miracle. You called me after a Viking win. That doesn't happen.
That's true. You're still in the hunt. So, yeah.
Sure. We're still a team. They haven't moved us or anything, so that's good, I guess.
Jason, thank you, man. Thanks for coming on with the show, as always.
My pleasure, Jonathan.